right. Hello, world. I don't know how this is going to go, but I suppose I'm just doing it. So, welcome to what I call Plebeian Rhapsody. And just to be clear, in both the English and the American dictionaries, it's pronounced plebeian or plebeian from pleb, but it's a free world. I want to call it plebeian. I'm going to call it plebeian. It's my thing. Anyway, uh, what is this? Okay, I suppose I should talk about what exactly I'm doing, talking on a microphone. And before I get into that, also, who am I? Who am I? I think I'll probably talk about that another time too, when I figure out exactly, how I want to do things, what I want you guys to know about me. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Until then, I guess I'm just the guy behind the microphone, a plebeian or a pleb. Anyway, I suppose you could call this a podcast, and it's called Plebeian Rhapsody. So, why this name? Why? Well, for starters, there's plenty of podcasts out there. So it's probably one of thousands, maybe tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. I don't know, but this is just another one for now. And why do I call it Plebeian Rhapsody? Because I want to. And I didn't find any other one out there that uses a nomenclature like this, Plebeian Rhapsody. So, what exactly is Plebeian Rhapsody? I don't know, maybe I'll just break it down, get some dictionary definitions in there. All right, so I got two words. I got plebeian or plebeian or plebeian, whichever way you want to say it. I like plebeian, so I'm going to call it plebeian. It feels smooth to me. And that's it comes from a Roman term for plebs, which means common people. And I kind of think that, sort of applies to me. Like, I don't have anything fancy about me. I don't know any important people. I don't have any important, like, influential, I'd say, people in my life, my sphere. It's just, me, common guy. It's a guy with a microphone. In a world where a guy with a microphone has somewhere he can talk. So I'm just a common man. And I think I fit that description. But actually, let's talk a little bit more about plebes or plebs. So looking at Oxford Learner's Dictionaries right here, it says connected with ordinary people are people of the lower social classes. Yep, low social class. So I don't, like I said, I don't have any influence or connections or anything of that nature. No royalty. No, I don't got no royal blood. All right, I'm just a common man. Just a plebe. I'm just a pleb. And then I looked it up some more. Plebeians, the general body. Oh, this is actually from Wikipedia. It's the general body of free Roman citizens who were not patricians, as determined by the census, or in other words, commoners. So patricians, who were patricians, those were actually a group of ruling class families in ancient Rome. Sorry. In other words, these were the important people. The people with the power, the politicians. The people who rule the world, the social elites, the people with the money, the aristocrats. Those were the patricians, and then pretty much everybody else was plebs or common people. And what's even crazy about that is back then in that world, like they weren't even allowed to like the classes were just separate. So it was just important people and then common people, and they weren't even allowed to intermingle. Like you couldn't marry outside of being a commoner. The Encyclopedia Britannica, I think it was that's what I was reading. It puts it in a good way. It might have been something else, but I remember I remember seeing it somewhere where excuse me, it said being a pleb was hereditary. Like seriously, how on earth is your social status hereditary? Like that's a crazy thing to think of these days, but in the olden days that's what it was. Like you were born poor and you stayed poor. You don't marry into rich, you don't change your social class. You are who you are from birth to death. If you're born rich, you stay rich, you intermingle with rich people, you marry rich, you die rich. So that's kind of crazy that that's how things were back in the really old days. This is like I guess 1500s time frame. So yeah, a couple centuries back. But that's exactly what it was. Like, they were common people, common people, plebeians, and born poor, die poor. And I'm not rich. Yeah, I don't have a wealth. I don't have a ton of money. I don't live hand to mouth, but I'm just a normal guy. I get up every day. I go to work. I get my paycheck. I come home and I do normal people things. So, and I think I'd say I suppose the vast majority of us are probably like that. So that's why I call it plebeian or plebeian. And then the next part of the name is Rhapsody. So where exactly does that one come from? So basically, every day, I get up and, we live in this crazy world and we see things going on daily from time to time. You read the news, you watch the news, you're on social media, and you talk to people, you see what their interests are, you see what's going on around you. And bottom line is like we live in a pretty crazy world, a pretty crazy time, I'd say, especially if you live in America like me. Things are vastly different. I'm not old. I'm about uh 4 decades old. That's a weird way to put it. But yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm not old, but between the time I was born and now, vastly different. And also the time I've been in America, which is just about 2 decades, vastly different. Also, so why I call it Rhapsody. Um, it's got many definitions to that word also, but one being a highly emotional utterance. Let me see if oh, that one was from Merriam-Webster, and this is let me see. This is from Oxford Learner's Dictionary also. See if I find one that fits. It's an expression of great enthusiasm or happiness in speech or writing. So basically, I get up every day and I watch the news, I read the news, I'm on social media, and these things like the things that I see day to day, they drive me nuts, and like I kind of get mad sometimes looking at them. So one day I just got up, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go talk about some of this stuff that I'm reading about here because it's seriously nuts. Like if you look at it, sometimes people ignore stuff. Like that ostrich mentality, stick your hand in the sand, and if you don't see it happening, it's not happening around you. Some people are like that genuinely. You know, they don't want to see what's going on. They just ignore it basically. But you can't, cause guess what? It's still happening. You know, tree falls in the forest, it probably still makes a sound. You can't hear it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't make a sound, right? So I get up and these things happening around me, and I'm seeing them, and I'm like, man, this makes me mad. So I feel like I just want to talk about that. I'm not gonna rant too much, but it's essentially a rant. That's really what's going on here, and that's why I call it Rhapsody. It's a great expression of enthusiasm or happiness in speech or writing. And I wouldn't call it so much happiness, but definitely enthusiasm, definitely highly emotional. It's probably going to be. And if I eventually get people on here to talk, that's probably what I'm going to gravitate to. People with, passion, people who want to express themselves cleanly, still, you know. I don't want no cussing and things like that because I suppose you gotta cater to a good variety of for your audience. But yeah, as long as you got some passion, some fire in you, I'll take it. I'll take it. And again, I don't really know where this is going. I'm gonna pretty much get up here whenever I feel like. I don't have a schedule. I don't have a plan. I don't have an outline or anything like that. If I'm sitting at home and I'm reading an article and I'm like, man, this makes me mad, I'm probably gonna get up and come up here and talk, and that's it. So that's what it's gonna boil down to, basically. But yeah, that's Plebeian Rhapsody or Plebeian. You can say it however you want. I'm gonna call it Plebeian because it's my thing, and I want to call it Plebeian. So Plebeian Rhapsody. All right. I got this weird thing in my throat. I don't know what's going on. As soon as I start to talk, it's like it's all mucusy and stuff like that. So excuse the, I guess you could call it grunting. All right. What shall I talk about today? So there's a couple things that I saw recently. Um, there's another one that I saw some time back, probably this month. We're in May 2022 right now. And there's another topic I want to talk about that's on a lighter note. I saw that one earlier this year. By the way, like, I bought all this stuff. Like, I legitimately set up a podcast studio. Like, I got all the fancy stuff, the mixer, the microphones, the headphones. I got a studio phone. I made a little room, and I figured whenever I feel like it, I'm probably gonna get on it and start doing something. And I've had this like sitting around for like 4 months without even touching the equipment. Like I literally bought it, set it up, and it's been sitting here turned off for 4 months. So it's crazy. I guess today's the day. Today is the day. Anyway, let's get on it. The first thing is this Uvalde thing, the Uvalde shooting. Unless you live under a rock, yeah, you probably heard about this shooting. Happened. Let's see when this thing happened. It's like yesterday or the day before, where some 18-year-old kid walked into a school and started unloading on everybody with an AR-15. As of this morning, when I looked at it, I think there was 21 people dead or 23. It was either 21 or 23, but I know there's like two grown-ups and about 19 kids. And the accounts are different depending on where you go and look, but let's just call it at least 20 people. At least 20 people this guy shot. And it's just amazing to me that somebody can get up. I don't know what's going on in your head where you feel like it's so bad that one, you got to die, and then you got to take somebody with you? Like, seriously, why? That don't even make no sense. Like, why does it make sense that things are so bad that your solution is death for you and death for everybody else? I don't know. I guess I'm built differently, but none of that stuff makes sense to me. I know humans are different. There's various things that makes us human. Diversity is one of them. That's one thing I like to say. Like diversity is what makes us human. Like everybody's so different. You know, it's what makes the world what it is. Unfortunately, you get the good and the bad. You know, it's not all gonna be rainbows and sunshine and unicorns. Nah, you're gonna get all those bad eggs in there with you. And this kid turned 18 on his 18th birthday. He decided, hey man, I'm gonna go buy me. Well, according to social media folks, an AR-15 isn't an assault rifle. I'm not a gun person, so I don't know. I don't know what it is. All I know is it kills people. It sure does. It kills people. He killed 20, so yeah, it definitely works. And he got up, he got this thing, and including body armor, bulletproof vest, whatever you want to call it, and went in and started slaying people. And that's just cowardly, man. That's cowardly. Like you can't even face your own challenges. Why do you think the solution to your problem is somebody else? What did all these people do to you? Like seriously, did everybody at that school do something to this kid where they deserved what they got? I highly doubt that. And that's just ridiculous. But guess what? That's the world we live in, you know? And I've seen like a couple of I don't know if they're memes or whatever or they're truthful statistics. Let's do a quick Google search and see what comes up. School shootings by country. This one is from World Population Review. See if there's a quick list. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know how reputable this website is, but seems pretty legit. But school shootings by a country. United States. Oh, this is just for 2022. 2022. So just this year, we haven't gotten to the 6th month of 2022 yet. So we're 5 months in. School shootings, United States, 288. The next closest one to that, Mexico. Guess how many? 8. And these people is well, you know what? I'm gonna rile some people up, but you're gun nuts. That's what you are, gun nuts. Call yourself like Second Amendment supporters or whatever. That what you call a rose by any other name smells just as sweet. And if you're a gun nut by any other name, you're still a nut. People talk all they want. They say guns are for self defense, but the numbers don't lie. 288 school shootings in America alone. The next country in the world, the next highest number is 8. 288, United States. The next highest number, 8. That's crazy. And you telling me we don't have a problem? Come on, people. You gotta have your head in the sand to not think you don't have a problem. Like, it's obvious. It's obvious. You're ignoring it. You're stupid. You're dumb. We need to fix it. There is a problem. All right? 288 times this year. We're not even halfway through the year. And there's still people out there saying we don't have a problem. No, I don't know what the solution is. Like I'm not a lawmaker. I don't know what works. I don't know what's not what doesn't work, you know? I'm not some genius. I'm a pleb. I'm a common man. But even a dummy can see that something's wrong. right? And people say it's not guns. Guns aren't the problem. It's bad guys with guns. They're the problems, and the solution to bad guys with guns is get good guys guns. But you know what? You know what really grinds my gears? This morning I saw an article. I was on Twitter and I saw an article from the Washington Post, and I'll read the headline for you. I won't go through the whole article, but the headline speaks for itself. And let's get back here. Come on, Twitter, don't let me down. It says, police slow to engage with gunmen because, and I quote, they could have been shot, officials says. So the police, these are the good guys with the guns, they went to this school shooting, Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, and they decided they weren't going to go in because they were afraid of being shot. These are the good guys with the guns. The good guys with the gun. And then if you read through the article, it was actually from an interview. The article is based on an interview by I think it was Wolf Blitzer on CNN with a lieutenant from the Uvalde Police Department. And this dude literally said, "Hey man, we didn't go in there for an hour. We let this dude run rampant because we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know where he was, and we didn't want our officers to get shot." So meanwhile, they talk all the time that, hey, we should arm teachers, and let them. Those are going to be the good guys with the guns in the school. And you got these guys that are trained, to protect and to serve, so-called protect and to serve, and they were afraid to go in, Yet every single day in this country, you got cops killing people, unarmed folks, for whatever reason, because they quote unquote fear for their life, you know. And the one time when you really need them to go in because they're trained, they decided, no, we're not gonna do it. We're just gonna let this dude do what he's doing. We'll wait. We'll wait for SWAT. How many people can you really kill? Well, yeah, the answer is 20 plus. That's how many people he can kill if you let him roam free. They sat around for an hour before going in and let this dude kill 20 people. That's just dumb. The good guys with the guns. And I can tell you, like, if you look at social media is not being kind. It's not being kind to these guys. And rightly so. Because what's worse is the parents went out. They came to the school, they heard what was going on, they tried to go in, and these good guys with guns, guess what they did? They turned on the parents. They tried to stop the parents from going in while they sat out there listening to their kids being slaughtered. Some of the cops even put handcuffs on the parents. That's ridiculous. I was born and raised in Jamaica, and Jamaicans have a saying, "Duppy know who for frighten," and it loosely translates to "ghosts know who to scare." In other words, like, these cops, they knew who they got strength for. They got the strength to fight off the parents on the outside, because they got their guns and they feel tough. Yet, in the same breath, the same instance, the same second, these are the same guys that are saying, "Hey, I ain't going in there. This dude's got a gun." Like, what? You got to be kidding me. It's just ridiculous. I seriously don't understand that logic. The guys who are supposed to protect us, who are supposed to be serving, who are supposed to be risking their lives. Well, I don't even know if they're supposed to, because There's precedents in Supreme Courts that says they have no obligation to actually risk their lives for you and me, despite them touting day in day out that they're here to protect and serve and they're here to risk their lives for the public. It's all lies that convince stupid people who got their head in the sand. They hear what they want to hear, they see what they want to see, but they don't want to see the truth. The only thing they protect and serve is themselves. Come out here talking about you protecting and serving, you keeping the parents out of uh out of the school who want to go in and save their kids despite not being armed, don't have no body protection or anything like that, and they're willing to go in. Yet these guys, they're all strapped up. They got machine guns strapped to their chests and body armor, and they're like, "I'm not going in there. This dude's got a gun." Yeah, that just happened. That definitely happened, and that's literally what the cop said. He said the officers could have gotten shot. Seriously, don't call yourself no police officer. Don't talk about you're here to protect and to serve when you telling me in the same breath you ain't gonna risk your life because you don't have to. You know, there's a fire in your house and the fireman shows up and somebody's trapped in there. They can get burned. They do it all the time. They do get burned all the time. Some of them die. But guess what? They don't stand outside and talk about, I'm not going to go in. I can get burned. No, because that's their job. That's their job. You got military folk all over the world doing things they don't even want to do, fighting wars that they don't want to fight, but they do it because that's their jobs. And these guys, good guys with guns, protect and serve, literally said, I'm not going in because I could get shot. You want to know what's worse about that, too? That happened? Um, One of the cops in another interview was saying that some of his guys went in and got their own kids out of the school. So they actually went in, like me. I don't know if it's true or whatever, but it's on, like, a cop was saying it in an interview that some of his colleagues went in and got their own kids. So they're brave enough to go save their own kids. They just left everybody else in there to die, you know? And they want to talk about teachers, arm the teachers. What are the teachers supposed to do if the cops are scared? What are the teachers supposed to be doing if the dudes that are trained are scared? The teacher's supposed to be not scared? Well, I can tell you straight up, I guess they weren't because some of them died protecting other students. Well, you know what? I'd rather be paying teachers than a useless cop. Because all they gonna do is like wait for their moment when they got an unarmed citizen who's defenseless and can't fight them back, and it's just gonna unload on them, and then they're gonna use that universal excuse, "I feared for my life," and that's all they got to do, and they get off scot free. Ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. Yet, no bones about it. That's the world we live in today. Maybe not the world. I'm probably painting with too broad a brush, but that's America. This is America. Really messed up place right now. Anyway, I gotta calm myself down. Getting kind of heated now. Good guys with guns. No such things. It's just people who want to defend their idiotic positions at all costs at other people's expenses. And when the proverbial push comes to shove, they cop out. Pun intended. Ridiculous. As a matter of fact, I think I'm gonna read this article here. So it's from the Washington Post, written by Timothy Bella. The title is "Police Slow to Engage with Gunmen Because They Could Have Been Shot," officials says. It's not very long. Police were reluctant to immediately engage with the gunman who spent an hour inside the elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, where he killed 19 children and 2 adults because they could have been shot, a lieutenant with the Texas Department of Public Safety said in a CNN interview. Enforcement officers have faced mounting criticism from some parents who say police could have intervened sooner against 18-year-old Salvador Ramos in an effort from officers that was initially deemed by Texas Governor Greg Abbott as a quick response. Police who arrived at the school retreated as shots rang out, state authorities said Thursday, and it took an hour before a tactical unit led by federal Border Patrol agents went into a classroom and killed the gunman. Texas Department of Public Safety spokesman Chris Olivares defended the response in an interview Thursday with CNN's Wolf Blitzer, who asked the lieutenant to walk him through what exactly law enforcement was doing for 60 minutes or so while the shooter remained in that classroom, killing those kids and teachers. Olivares said that while the goal for law enforcement during active shooter situations, such as this one this week in Uvalde, is to stop the killing and preserve life, officers did not initially know where Ramos was located when they were shot at. At that point, if they proceeded any further, not knowing where the suspect was at, they could have been shot, they could have been killed, and that gunman would have had an opportunity to kill other people inside that school. I mean, seriously, what difference does it really make if they go in, get shot, and the dude roams around and kills more people, versus if they stand around, the dude roams around and still kills more people? It's alright. They don't want to die. They just okay with other people dying. Despite you're gonna hear him talk about, hey, we risk our lives every day for you. Doing what? Hiding? Anyway, Olivares' remarks were criticized by those on both the political left and right, and by parents, some of whom were tackled or handcuffed as they tried to enter the school on Tuesday to try to save their children. A DPS spokesperson did not immediately respond to a request for comment early Friday. The DPS is expected to have a news briefing on Friday. Standard law enforcement guidance since the 1999 massacre at Columbine High School in Colorado says officers should pursue shooters inside buildings without waiting for specialized backup. Since Columbine, many police departments have trained officers to go after an attacker as soon as possible to minimize the number of teachers and children shot. Before Columbine, older guidance often emphasized the waiting for specially trained officers such as a SWAT team. The speed and willingness of officers to pursue shooters into buildings has been called into question following other attacks in recent years, including a massacre at a high school in Parkland, Florida in 2018. While the Uvalde Police Department's policy in responding to an active shooter is not publicly available, Olivares said in an interview with the Washington Post on Thursday that the protocol is to address the threat. You go at the threat, you go at where the gunfire is at because you're trying to stop the threat. The lieutenant's comments on CNN add to an incomplete and evolving explanation of what happened at Robb Elementary. Officials have offered varied timelines and explanations as to the massacre and law enforcement's response, and have also made sometimes inconsistent or contradictory announcements about key details involving the shooter. Cell phone videos from outside Robb Elementary on Tuesday and witness accounts detail how parents were yelling at police, pleading with them to enter the school to protect their children. Javier Cazares, whose 9-year-old daughter Jacqueline was shot and killed, said parents wanted to storm the building when officers told him to move away from it. Some of the videos posted on social media, which have been viewed millions of times, showed tearful parents pleading with officers in tactical gear, some carrying rifles or tasers, to go inside the school and tackle the gunman, or allow them to do so themselves. "You're scared of getting shot?" one mother said, according to one video. "I'll go in without a vest. I will." On Thursday, Olivares told Blitzer that 3 officers initially went in one of the entrances where Ramos went into the building, and that another 4 officers eventually got in. As they were taking gunfire, they were calling in for reinforcements, backup tactical team, snipers, any additional personnel to assist not only with the situation but also the situation in evacuating students and teachers, he said. One of the officers was shot, Olivares said. But that did not stop law enforcement from killing Ramos and responding to other injured children inside that classroom, who they were able to save as well as get them to cover. But Blitzer pressed Olivares on the long-standing guidance surrounding law enforcement's response to active shooter situations. Wolf said, "Don't current best practices, don't they call for officers to disable a shooter as quickly as possible, regardless of how many officers are actually on site?" Blitzer asked. Olivares said that was correct, explaining some of the uncertainty faced by law enforcement in Uvalde. The active shooter situation, you want to stop the killing. You want to preserve life. But also one thing that, of course, the American people need to understand, that officers are making entry into this building. They do not know where the gunman is, Olivares said. They are hearing gunshots. They are receiving gunshots. That's when Olivares told Blitzer that officers were slow to engage because they could have been shot. They could have been killed. They were able to contain that gunman inside that classroom so that he was not able to go to any other portion of the school to commit any other killings, he said. The remarks prompted widespread criticism on social media. Joe Walsh, the former GOP congressman from Illinois, who has since become a vocal critic of former President Donald Trump and his allies in the Republican Party, tweeted, he had no words after hearing Olivares' comments. He actually said it, Walsh wrote. He actually said the cops were reluctant to engage the shooter because they could have been shot. They could have been killed. Janice Dean, a senior meteorologist for Fox News, was among those echoing the disgust over law enforcement's response. It's like a fireman not going into a building because he might get burned, Dean wrote. John Swain, Joyce Soin Lee, and Mark Berman contributed to this report. It's crazy. It's crazy, it's sad, and it's infuriating. Good guys with guns. They don't want to get shot, so they just let the kids get shot. That's all it amounts to. This is America, people. It's America. All right, let's look at something else. While the time is this clock is running. So I came across this other article on it was on May 12th, and this thing, I don't know if it made me mad or if it just made me laugh or to think that stuff like this is still going on. California girl 3 was allegedly tortured and killed by family during exorcism. Court docs. Seriously? Exorcism? Like in 2022? Or 2021? I don't know when this happened. Let's see what the story says. All right, this was written by Tristan Balatkas. And this newspaper is called... Oh, this is People. A 3-year-old girl was allegedly tortured and killed by family members during an exorcism ritual, and police have arrested her mother in connection with her death, authorities said. According to court documents authored by Deputy District Attorney Rebecca Wise and obtained by Crone TV, investigators believe the toddler died inside a church in San Jose, California last fall. So this is, I guess it was 2021. The little girl's mother, Claudio Elisa Hernandez, 25, reportedly told police that she grew concerned on September 23, 2021, that her daughter was possessed because she would often wake up in the middle of the night crying or screaming, the station reports. What? I mean, kids don't wake up in the night screaming? Kids don't wake up in the night crying? My kids do that. I guess she's an idiot. Anyway, the next morning, Hernandez, the girl's church leader, grandfather, and her uncle drove her to a church where they allegedly participated in the fatal ritual. The trio of adults reportedly held the toddler down by her neck, torso, and legs for several hours. They also stuck their fingers and hands down her throat in an attempt to make her vomit, the outlet reports. The girl died after the 12-hour long exorcism, during which she suffered multiple injuries around her eyes, face, neck, and chest, according to Crone. She, this is the mom, Hernandez, strangled her multiple times to the point where the victim went unconscious. She stuck her hands down her throat and continued this course of conduct for almost a full day, the prosecutor wrote. Nearly 2 hours after the death, the family reportedly called 911. The coroner ruled the toddler's death a homicide caused by suffocation and smothering, according to the station. Hernandez was the only person involved in the alleged homicide who was arrested in February following a bizarre 40-minute long YouTube video in which she reflected on her daughter's life and death. I would always tell her that I love her and make sure to show her so much love, Hernandez says. It's so hard now because I went from having her every day to not having her at all. To think that I'm not going to see her grow up like how I thought I was going to see her grow up. But it's okay because I know she's in a better place. God knows why he allows these things. God knows why he allows you to be an idiot. I could sit here and be negative about the things and be like, I wish I could go back and this and that, but it's like, there's no point in me doing that because I cannot change what is, she added. It is what it is. I've learned to think positive. It's many reasons why God took her. God didn't. Anyway, continuing. Citing court documents, the station reports the prosecution urged the judge to deny Hernandez's bail. She was born in El Salvador, has minimal ties to the community, and is considered a high flight risk. According to court records, Hernandez has been appointed a public defender. She remains in jail where she faces charges of felony assault on a child with force likely to produce great bodily injury. Her next court date is June 13. Religious nut jobs. Oh my God. Gun nuts, religious nuts. We just got nuts all over this country. Those other people involved need to get arrested too. Like, I mean, what's the deal with them? Why aren't they being arrested? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they have, but I would hope they've arrested them too. Grandfather and whoever else was involved in that. Seriously, you hold a kid down, choke her, stick your finger down her throat for hours just because you think she's possessed. Because she woke up in the night screaming. I mean, why do these people have kids? Seriously, like, sometimes I like to think in America, we're we're too free. And I say that with caution because I love freedom, Your freedom to do things, freedom to be unencumbered, and I fight for freedom is what I do. But I think we're just too free. And the part about too free, I mean, is we're just too free to be stupid. I mean, things like these should be punished. And you should get these people, string them up, and whip them. Whip them in front of everybody else. So other stupid people know that there are consequences for their stupid actions. Seriously. An exorcism in 2021? Like what? Like who does that? Is that still a thing? I mean, this is not the 12, 1300s, 14, 1500s. This is the 2000s. Like I can't believe they would go to that extent. I, I would say I can't believe people are that stupid, but that's not true. I do believe people are that stupid. I know a lot of stupid people. But this is just ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. Who does this? Why? And now this little girl is gone, and they're talking about God took her and she's in a better place. No, Your idiocy killed her. You're just an idiot. Exorcism 2021 killed a 3-year-old girl. Ah, I tell you, man. I don't know. I couldn't. There's good and bad about democracy. Um, like I said, freedom, fantastic. But sometimes I think there should be unilateral punishment. I don't think there should be no trial. I mean, she apparently admitted to doing it. Let's just go straight to punishment. Let's skip go. Let's skip go. Go straight. No, not even jail. I don't think. I don't honestly. I don't think they should be locked up. I think they should be whooped, whooped in public, and set free, so they can, one, walk around with the shame, and two, tell anybody who will listen that they got their ass whooped because they were stupid. That's what should happen. If I ever get rich enough to buy a country, I tell you, man, they're probably gonna assassinate me because I ain't playing these games, man. I would not be playing these games. Yeah, a little whooping never. Well, I don't know. Let me before I go too far with that one. Yeah, I'm just gonna say these people they need to be whooped because they're just dumb. That's just plain old stupid. There's no other explanation for that. Plain old stupid. All right. Anyway, moving on to a lighter note. I guess calm myself down a little bit. This is in my miscellaneous category. So I found this. I saw this post. I don't remember where I saw it. It might have been Twitter. It might have been Facebook. Earlier in the year, it was like March time frame, and it was a letter from an American author, John Steinbeck, and he wrote it to Marilyn Monroe, and I thought this was so funny. This is what we need more of. But anyway, a little bit about Mr. Steinbeck. Steinbeck was an American author, sorry, an American writer, and 1962 Nobel Prize literature winner for his realistic and imaginative writings. He wrote 33 books, 16 novels, 6 nonfiction, 2 collections of short stories. He's widely known for the comic novels Tortilla Flat, Cannery Row, and the multi-generation epic East of Eden, and the novellas Red Pony and Of Mice and Men. The Pulitzer Prize-winning The Grapes of Wrath is considered Steinbeck's masterpiece and part of the American literary canon. In the first 75 years after it was published, it sold 14 million copies. Most of Steinbeck's work is set in Central California, particularly in the Salinas Valley and the California Coast Ranges region. His works frequently explore the themes of fate and injustice, especially as applied to downtrodden or everyman protagonists. Anyway, that's John Steinbeck. But let's go find this letter. So it's written April 28, 1955. It was addressed to Miss Marilyn Monroe, Waldorf Towers, room 2728, New York City, New York. And it reads, Dear Marilyn, in my whole experience, I have never ever known anyone to ask for an autograph for himself. It is always for a child or an ancient aunt, which gets very tiresome, as you know better than I. Yeah, both were famous, so I guess that's why he's saying that. It is therefore with a certain nausea that I tell you that I have a nephew in law who lives in Austin, Texas, whose name is John Atkinson. He has his foot in the door of puberty, but that is only one of his problems. You are the other. I know that you are not made of celestial ether. That was one of my favorite lines right there. He says, I know that you are not made of celestial ether, but he doesn't. A suggestion that you have normal functions would shock him deeply, and I'm not going to be the one to tell him. On a recent trip to Texas, my wife made the fatal error of telling John that I had met you. He doesn't really believe it, but his respect for me has gone up, even for lying about it. Now I get asked for all kinds of silly favors, so I have no hesitation in asking one of you. Would you send him, in my care, a picture of yourself, perhaps in pensive, girlish mood, inscribed to him by name and indicating that you are aware of his existence? He is already your slave. This would make him mine. If you will do this, I will send you a guest key to the ladies' entrance of Fort Knox, and furthermore, I will like you very much. Yours sincerely, John Steinbeck. Oh man, this is a kind of wit that we're missing these days. And I actually posted this back in March on Facebook, and I wrote when I posted it, I wrote, back in the days when literary arts wasn't relegated to 160 inarticulate characters by people with corrupted comprehension, let alone cohesive speech and elocution. So yeah, and this wasn't even long ago. This was in the 1950s. We're in 2020, so it's 70 years ago. Let's just round it off. 70 years ago. Um, in in terms of like how long humans have been around and what we've accomplished over the thousands of years that we've been around, this is this is almost, you could almost say this was yesterday. So I found it funny, but it also made me think about like where we've come, and some would say how far we've fallen, because you don't see stuff like this much these days. You see the keyboard warriors on Twitter and Facebook, and people writing sentences that don't even have punctuation in them, and it just drives me nuts that that's how uneducated we are. And look at this guy. This was only 70 years ago. Such an articulate, fun-filled letter, and I don't doubt that Marilyn at least chuckled when she got this letter. I hope she did respond to Mr. Steinbeck, or rather to his nephew-in-law, with a girlish, pensive letter, a picture of herself in girlish, pensive mood, inscribed to him by name, telling him that she's aware of his existence. That's funny. But again, my favorite line in that thing is, I know that you are not made of celestial ether, but he doesn't. I think she's absolutely made of celestial ether, because it's Marilyn. And I do wish, we had more wit like this, more fun-loving writers and authors these days. But things and times have changed. Now we live in the crazy world of gun nuts and religious nuts, which is quite unfortunate. Oh well, tomorrow's another day. Today's not done. We got to finish this one, and as long as we all wake up tomorrow, which I mean, we all won't, obviously, but if you wake up tomorrow morning, give thanks, because you got life and you've lived to see another day. If I'm here tomorrow, I'm happy. I got life, I got strength, and I can do what I do for another day, and I'm happy about that. That said, I guess that's my rant for today. That's my plebeian rhapsody for today, and I'm going to close out with that. Wherever you are in the world, have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. And I'll see you again.